We're back, and what are we back for? For you! It's time to answer your questions that you have logged on to CBN.com with. So AJ, he starts us out and says, I know about the morning after pill and the so-called abortion pill, but what about the forms of birth control that prevent fertilization? Are they wrong too?
Oh, I don't think so. I don't know what kind of birth control you're talking about, but...
like normal, like the pill and stuff.
Well, there's a pill, and there are various other types of devices that keep fertilization from taking place. I do not oppose in any way family planning. I think that family planning is all right. I know our Catholic friends disagree with it. They think that you should not restrict the sexual act in any way, that it was meant for procreation. But the Bible seems to use the term that so-and-so knew his wife, and it seems it's a form of intimacy that comes through the sexual act that is in addition to procreation. So I've got no problem with birth control, and I think when you get into some of those pills, though, that actually kill an emerging embryo, that's a different matter.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Okay.
All right.
Next question. Ed says, today is Ash Wednesday. I'm a Baptist. Do I have to observe Lent, or is that just for Catholics? That's a good question.
Well, it's for anybody who wants to do it. I mean, there are people who do a Lenten fast. They have 40 days. They don't eat sweets, or they give up something. They give up watching TV, or something that says, I'm going to put God first for that period of time. It's a nice thing.
Yeah.
But no, you don't have to. We're not under rules and regulations and things like that. You don't have to.
You know, it's fun. I grew up, I spent some time in Massachusetts, where it's a predominantly Catholic area. And I grew up Pentecostal, so I wasn't familiar with the Catholic traditions. And I would see all these kids come with all these, things on their forehead. And I'd be like, you got dirt on your forehead. And they're like, it's ash. I was like, well, why are you rolling in ash? I just didn't understand it at the time. But
did you hit your head?
Did you hit your head? I'm sitting there wiping it off. They're like, no. All right, anyway, here's Kim, who says, Pat, congratulations on the NRV award. Have there been times in your life when you thought God said something was going to happen and it didn't? This has happened to me, and it's devastated my faith. I question everything God has said to me. Have you felt the same way, and how can I keep my faith? That's a great question, too.
Well, in the early days when we first were starting, I was basing my entire life on the fact that you could hear from God, that God would reveal himself to you, and that he had revealed to me that he was going to have me start a television station and a ministry. And there was a man who had made a promise that I thought was what was needed. And when he broke his word, went out and left me owing money, and it just seemed like the dreams had come down. And I questioned the Lord's goodness. It was like, oh, my whole life is in shatters. Not so much that I couldn't rebuild a little bit of money, but I couldn't rebuild what I felt was the framework of my life, which was believing that God would lead us. The truth is, he did lead, and he had kept me from something bad.
Come on.
That was it.
I love that. Can I jump in on that real quick? When I went through my divorce, I remember I prayed for years for the Lord to restore the marriage. I really, really did. And I was devastated. I was like, Lord, I'm praying, I'm fasting, I'm doing all these things for you to do it. People always say hindsight is 20/20. Now it's 7, 8 years later, and I see that God's provision over my life. And so at that time, I really had a faith struggle with the Lord.
Sure.
And now my faith has soared because I think, God, you go before me on so many things that, sometimes it's the unanswered prayer that shows me how much you love me. And I think that's what we have to remember as Christians.
And he'll deliver us from things so you don't get frustrated. You want to do something so bad, and it's the wrong thing for you.
Yeah.
One quick question.
Okay.
Ronnie
says,
my husband told me he wants a divorce, although he changed his mind after he found I was pregnant. He says he wants to see a family now.
To be a family now, yeah.
I talked to my church, and someone prophesied that my husband wasn't going to change and that we weren't going to raise our child together. I want my marriage to work. Do not listen, my dear lady, to that prophecy. There are all kinds of crazy prophecies that come down the line, and just because some dear sister stands up and starts spouting off something, that doesn't mean it's of God.
Amen. And don't let anybody, you know,
And if your husband wants to continue a marriage and you want to continue the marriage and you want to raise children together and you want to have a happy home, have a happy home. Don't listen to Sister Smith or whatever her name is giving you that bad word.